All right, Sam and Steve, another video, and this one is really based on a discussion that my wife and had. And it has to do with relationship, it has to do with marriages, and my wife and I were in the living room last night, and she was watching a certain program, and I was on the cell phone, just reading some articles, and one article I just kind of popped up, and what it was talking about is that we can live a lot longer than we think and a lot sooner. So in other words, life could be extended for another 100 years, maybe 150 years, even 200 years, and potentially even more. People or kids who are born just recently have a real shot at living to maybe 150, 200 years, potentially. You're getting very close to understanding, part of their molecules, I guess, for what I was reading, and there are certain chemicals that go on, proteins, whatever, so on, and it gets pretty complicated, but it really, basically, it has to do with cell division. So as you get older, the cells start, they divide less. And also, what's interesting too about the brain, we're born with an abundant amount of neurons, because the body doesn't know when you're born how many you're going to be using, how much you actually need, so it has more in abundance. But what happens when you get older, your cells, stop dividing. But part of it, basically from what I was reading, is that it's also, it's part of what the human body does. You have cells in your body that will just die off, and they stop dividing, and that's a good thing. In this picture, it's about living life longer, is that it's about proteins continuing the cell division. And also we're talking about, is that they have a way, even reversing age, or reversing, getting older. If you live longer, you may have the same physical, presence for some period of time after that, maybe for 100, 200, 100 years. But here's the discussion that my wife and I were talking about. Until death do us part. We've been married for some period of time, and we have a good marriage. I have to tell you, we have a good marriage. We have our days, we have our spats every once in a while, and but that's just part of being together for long. We've been married more than 20 years, and we've known each other for a lot longer than that. So we've been together for quite some time. But we were talking about last night, until death do us part. Now, imagine this, when you do your vows, you're putting your vows now for another 200, 300 years until death do us part. I mean, everything starts to change, and where we're asking each other, our marriages are a challenge. They really are a challenge. We have our moments, like I said before. It's a challenge, but to be together for another 200, 300 years, maybe even longer. But right now, it seems like 200 years is a real potential. And so that's really, and there's also unintended consequences. And the article was talking about, like for instance, Supreme Court for life. Well, are they going to be a Supreme Court justice now for 200, 300 years? People that are sentenced to being president for life, 200, 300 years. And they got a little bit of that, because it was stating in that if people realize that they're going to be in jail for 200, 300 years, would it deter and do any kind of crime? So I kind of brought that up. But there are a lot of other unintended consequences. Like another one was, women be fertile for some period of time. Having children would be a whole different kind of thing. The other thing, jobs, careers. And the other thing I talked about, being motivated, because when you have a time frame, and you have only a certain amount of time, you move a little bit quicker. But if you have all these years, how is it going to react? How are we going to react as human beings, having the ability to live a lot longer? It was really interesting. But the thing that I was talking about really is our relationship. And other people have have marriages, whatever, and it's kind of the reason I'm having a discussion, because it's a real possibility now. It's really potentially there, and. I was talking to my wife, just kind of looking at each other. Marriage is a challenge. It really has its moments, and I said this before, and I think we could be together for another 200 years if that was the case. But man, it's going to be, that's something else. And then having children, I said, and having careers and jobs. And the other thing was also talking about the article. What's interesting, you have a chance to change things. You have a chance to improve. If you make mistakes in your life, you have a chance to correct it. You have a chance to get back on course, getting on the right path for yourself. it was just interesting, and the whole question is what are the consequences for us to live maybe another 150 years, 200, even close to 300 years. Pretty stunning, everybody. And yeah, we just had a really great discussion, my wife and I. We really just, when I was reading it, I was telling her just a real possibility. I'm going to be long gone, so I don't have to. I'm 74, so I'm not going to be around. Then you never know. My mother's 94, so, and other mothers I know, other families, people live longer too. One thing I've noticed here in the hospital, we got some older patients. It's amazing, even in their 90s, and they got everything up here. They're still really good. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and it just the question again is other people who are married or have a relationship. Just imagine for a moment to be together until death do us part for another 200 years. I'll leave it at that. Anyway, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that, everybody. It was a pretty profound discussion my wife and I had last night. It was pretty good. Anyway, as always, I'm going to go ahead and end it. As always, I hope your day is going well, and I appreciate your time for watching this video. And this video is about down to earth, about relationships, down to earth here with us. Anyway, I appreciate your time. Again, I hope your day is going well, and thanks for watching this video. Thanks again. Appreciate it.